your tool for success. Dr. Boyd, thank you very, very much. Over to you. I'm going to stop sharing and mute, and then you can take over. Thank you, Boyd.
Thank you very much. I presume my screen's now sharing correctly?
Yes,
yes, sir.
Yep, cool. Awesome. Well, thank you very much for those kind words, Mario. So yes, my name's Dr. Boyd Goodex, and even though Mario said I'm coming to you from Australia, I do regard that as a slight insult because I'm a very proud New Zealander. So I haven't forgiven you guys for ruining my birthday last year on October 29, where a certain Rugby World Cup occurred, but I will get past that eventually, maybe another 5 or 6 years. So yeah, I'm here to talk to you today a bit about BREEDPLAN and various topics. And so some of you may have come across my work in extension. So I do a lot of talks like this. I'm involved in writing some of the extension material and the like. I also do a number of BREEDPLAN runs, and I've also been involved in the development of selection indexes for a number of breed societies in Southern Africa. So BREEDPLAN, it's the world's most widely used beef cattle genetic evaluation. It's actually been around a very long time. It's quite a mature science. The methodology itself was first proposed way back in the 1940s, and BREEDPLAN itself is going to be 40 years old next year. That said, we're constantly validating it and proving that it works, and that's rather essential to make sure that any of the evolutions and latest technology we're putting into it is continuing to make a difference and make it work even better. And so one last point, I'm just talking about BREEDPLAN in general. We like to reinforce that it's just one of the tools that allowed beef breeders to make genetic progress. It's not the only tool that should be used. We're never going to say that people shouldn't be considering their pedigrees, their visual assessment, and that kind of thing, but BREEDPLAN is certainly a very valuable tool to help you make genetic progress. So speaking of tools, that's what my talk tonight's about. So I'm going to cover these 5 topics tonight, and not a great deal of detail, but I will be covering these in some level for you tonight. So kicking off, talking about the resources that are available for you in Southern Africa. So obviously you've got a great local team in LRF and your breed societies, and we work closely with them and really respect what they do. So like to really congratulate them for what they do. But what I'll talk about here is actually more that we're up to deliver from our side. So firstly, I will be talking about the BREEDPLAN website, and also about our getting started with BREEDPLAN online workshops as well that we're delivering, and some of you may wish to partake in going forward. And then, of course, we're sending across our manager of research and development, Dr. Brad Crook, to attend the LRF Stockman School, which Mario just put up a slide on there before. So talking about the BREEDPLAN website, there's a lot of different things on there, things on individual products that we have that are associated with BREEDPLAN. But the 2 areas of it that I really want to focus on are the Help Centre and the Extension Services section of the website. So the Help Centre, it contains many topics relevant to BREEDPLAN, and it's pitched at both seed stock and commercial breeder levels. So whether you're the bull breeder or the bull buyer, that there will be information on there. And it's also searchable. So you may see on the screenshot here that there's a search function where you can enter keywords into to find out information relevant to those keywords. So some of the content you will get on the Help Centre comes pretty much in 3 forms. There's web pages, as you can see on the left, We have a number of short videos that you can see, like the one you can see in the center. And then we also have downloadable tip sheets like you can see on the right-hand side. And some of the bigger ones have been, well, some of the tip sheets have been joined together to form into a booklet that some people like to print off or download and keep near their office computer. Extension services. So this has come from a broader project that ABRI was involved with, and it covers broader beef cattle breeding topics than just BREEDPLAN. So there's some information on there about genetic conditions and the like in our technical notes section. We also have a limited number of seed stock producer perspectives. That is basically interviews with bull breeders, talking about their perspective on a certain aspect of the services we provide. So yeah, that again, broader topics than just BREEDPLAN, so it's well worth checking out to see what else we have available in that area of the website. So that can be found in the Extension Services tab, which is on the far right up here that I'm just circling, and the Help Center, of course, is just a couple of spots along on the BREEDPLAN website. So I mentioned the Getting Started with BREEDPLAN workshops. So these are free 1-hour online workshops for breeders who are new to BREEDPLAN. Well, that's what they were designed for breeders who are new to BREEDPLAN. We're certainly getting a lot of experienced breeders who are choosing to refresh their knowledge and attend these as well. Currently, we're doing them multiple times a month. We intend, we've had a lot of demand for them, so we're really pushing out quite a few at the moment, but we will intend to certainly keep them occurring regularly as an ongoing thing as time goes on. We offer them at two time slots, and one of them's 4:30 a.m. your time. And yes, I know I have talked to some of your breeders at 5 a.m. previously, and that wasn't my choice, it was theirs. But we do have one that is certainly a lot more suitable to you guys, and that is at 11 a.m. South African time, which is equivalent of 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. And if you want to know more about these Getting Started with BREEDPLAN workshops, if you can follow ABRI Extension Services on Facebook, you'll see notifications then of when they're next available and when you can sign up. So the next section I was going to talk about was getting the most out of your BREEDPLAN reports. So your BREEDPLAN herd reports, obviously, they contain EBV lists of various animal classes. And, you know, obviously that's a lot of numbers and a lot of things to be interpreted. And to refer back to the Help Center again, we have a number of BREEDPLAN guides to how to interpret EBVs, and then how to, our guide to animal selection, which is how to use selection indexes, EBVs, and those other sources of information that you use in animal selection, like pedigree and visual appraisal, is covered in the BREEDPLAN Guide to Animal Selection. Your herd reports also contains genetic and phenotypic trends, so you can see what progress is being made within the herd, and both at a genetic level and at a phenotypic level. And it also has persistence, which I presume most of you are relatively familiar with, but they allow you to benchmark where an individual sits for a given trait within the breed. We also have produced what is known as the completeness of performance reports. So the COP assesses the quantity of pedigree and performance information that is submitted to BREEDPLAN. This is important because the amount of data that we're able to analyze is a key factor that influences the accuracy of the EBVs we produce. So the more data we have, generally the more accurate EBVs we can produce. And in these reports, most of the categories are expressed as the percentage of registered animals that are recorded for a given trait. So if we look at this this graph we have in front of us, we can see, you know, obviously they will have registered 100% of their animals here, and just under 50% of them were male and just over 50% of them were female, as an example of how it works. So COP reports can be used for identifying data that hasn't been submitted. So we've got an example here of a herd that has been very well recording their 200-day weights, but in 2014, obviously, the data's not been analysed. Now, that may be, of course, their scale's broken, they weren't able to record it, or they may have forgotten to submit it. I think in this situation, it was actually a genuine case of where the breeders saw this and went, what happened? I know I recorded that data, and went and found it and submitted it to BREEDPLAN so that we could analyse it. It also allows you to identify opportunities of which traits you could record more in. So if you're looking at a graph like this, you could be looking at things like calving ease and birth weight, which are below 20% recorded of the registered animals, and going, well, you know, I could improve that a long way up to this end of the scale. So it certainly allows you to identify where you can do some more recording. The COP can also be used to promote well-recorded herds, and I certainly appreciate the awards that the LRF give out every year at the Stockman School, and would love to have something similar like that back where we are. But, you know, well-recorded herds are lead to higher EBV accuracy, and the means for the bull buyers, they're able to trust what they get just that little bit more. So it's certainly a valuable thing to do to promote those well-recorded herds. We also have outlier reports that we produce. So our outlier reports are one component of BREEDPLAN's data quality checks. So we expect a certain amount of variation in performance within each group of animals that are submitted. We certainly have the odd person who tries to submit every animal with a birth weight of 34 kilos or similar. We certainly pick up on that and see that a mile away. But every now and again, you know, when you've got normal variation in a group, you will see one animal that's off to one side as an outlier, and it just doesn't look right. And there's a statistical way of detecting these outliers, which is what BREEDPLAN does. So when you have an outlier, you get sent a report from BREEDPLAN, or in your case, it'll be coming from LRF, and whether you have the group of animals and the animal in question is identified by these hashtags that you can see on the screen. Now, the presence of an outlier does not mean that the data is wrong, just that we're asking the breeder to double check the record itself and the animal's details to make sure it's correct. And once that data has been checked, for the breeder to either verify the outlier and tell us that it is correct, or to provide a correction if they see that it was incorrect. Now, in this example on the screen, the raw observation was sent to us as 658 kilos. It was supposed to be 858, and it was someone's handwriting just wasn't quite right, and somewhere in the process. So if a breeder does not contact us and say that, hey, yes, that record is correct, or provide a correction, that data will actually be omitted from subsequent runs, just as a part of that data verification process. So moving on to breed object selection indexes. So as I said before, this is something I'm heavily involved with in developing selection indexes for societies in Southern Africa and also throughout the world. I'm just working on some for the UK at the moment, and just finished some for New Zealand, as well as ones more locally in Australia. And I still have to do Argentina as well. Sorry, and I have done Hungary. Yeah, there's a few around the place. Portugal's also interested. Anyway, So selection indexes, that they're a great tool. What they are is they're like EBVs. They're science-based, they're well-established. They were first described in 1943, which is actually even before EBVs were first proposed. And they're used in many livestock species around the world. They provide an overall score of an animal's genetic value for profit for a specific production system. And they assist beef producers to make balanced selection decisions that account for all elements of cost and income in a production system. And that's a really crucial thing there, that we're trying to have the whole production system represented in them. Otherwise, you might get a biased result. So what selection indexes are not is they're not the only selection tool that should be utilised. And there's a couple of main reasons for this. The first is that there are some important traits that are not included. And a couple of obvious examples are the structure of an animal and docility of the animal, so their temperament. Another reason is that most breed society selection indexes are based off an average production system for that breed society. So, and we know that individual farms will differ from those averages, or may differ from those averages. So with that in mind, we always suggest that selection indexes should be used in conjunction with individual EBVs of importance and other important sources of information like visual assessment for structure. So individual EBVs of importance, the example I like to give there really is, if you happen to put a lot more heifers into your herd than average every year, you're going to be a lot more concerned about having better calving ease than a herd that doesn't put many heifers in and it has mainly mature cows. I mentioned for other sources of information, obviously visual assessment. You're going to be talking about genetic conditions in August, pedigree, all of that plays a role in those other sources of information. So the selection indexes that we use in BREEDPLAN are created for a piece of software called BREEDObject, and BREEDObject indexes are reported in units of net profitability per cow mated for the production system market scenario that they describe. And that's really important, that to identify that an index is specific to that production system and market scenarios. So you shouldn't be going, I want the best animal across all indexes. You want the best animal for the index that suits your production system. We also use profit, because profit is a universal desire for beef production. But be aware that this can contradict an individual producer opinion. I mean, we all have opinions of what the important traits are for making money in our beef herds. In these indexes, because they've got to be numeric, so they've got to be quantifiable, they've got to be, and we base them on the best knowledge we have on the science and economics of the systems we can to produce these figures. So yeah, be aware that individual opinions can differ from the indexes. So I mentioned earlier that an index needs to account for the whole production system. So that includes accounting for all correlations between traits. So if we improve trait A, but it has a negative correlation with trait B that we also want to improve, we need to account for that in the index, so we know we don't push trait A too hard and go backwards in trait B. We also have some contradictory factors built in, because an example would be cow size. We know that big cows eat more, so they have a bigger feed cost, but they're also worth more as culls at the far end. So the cull price is a positive, but how much they eat is obviously a negative in the system. Both of these factors are accounted for in the indexes. Milking ability is another one that is very similar to that. We know that having a cow that has a better milking ability means we get bigger calves at weaning. but unfortunately it also has a negative correlation with cow fertility and health in tough environments. So pushing, really high milking EBVs, milk EBV figures may not be desirable for your herd. So when we create selection indexes, another key consideration we have is that we need to be looking forward. We need to be thinking about what's going to happen in the future. And the reason for that is if we made a selection decision based on an index today and the calf happened to be conceived today, so via AI or something similar, that we could guarantee the calf was conceived today, it would be around 280 days, 290 days until the calf is born. And that's the first time we actually see the parent's birth trait genetics being expressed for the first time. So we've had to wait, a long way through the year until we start to see the first expression of those genetics. Then after that, we start to see the growth and carcass genetics starting to be expressed. And, any daughters will then be, 2 years or more of age before they start to express their own maternal genetics. So we need to be looking forward to anticipate the prices expected when these traits will be expressed and any change in market conditions. Now in South Africa, I know there's a lot of discussions around meat quality grading and that kind of thing. In reality, we need to be thinking about that with our selection indexes now, so we're ready for when those programs are implemented. So BREEDPLAN search tools. The examples I'm going to give today are based on the Internet Solutions platform. I believe that is what most of you guys have access to. And just as a note, as Mario mentioned, BreedLogic is coming, and this stuff is going to be reviewed as part of that development as well. So in the future, it may look a little different, but we'll be making sure that the functionality remains. So I'm going to have a bit of a demonstration on the screen of how to do a search and sort online. And I'm going to use an online sale as an example. Online sales are a great way of getting your information out there where people can easily search through and find the animals that they're after. So the first step is obviously to find the sale catalogs, which I've highlighted on the top toolbar there. And then it will, once you click on the sale catalogs, it will bring up a list of the sales. So I've got these 2 sales listed there. If you click on one of them, you'll get a list of animals that have been entered into that sale. Now, if you click on show all EBVs, you'll get this list with all the EBVs shown, or you can also click on the search and sort catalog function. And if you click on the search and sort catalog function, it brings up what you generally see in the EBV inquiry page, except for in this case, this search and sort will only apply to that sale that you've selected. So if you enter your search criteria, and you may want to use your percentiles, which you can go find through this this link down here to help determine your search criteria. You can also put a sort by, so when it produces the short list, it will be sorted on what you've specified. And this will give you a short list of animals that you can investigate further. So once you've got your short list, you can then start clicking on individual animals, and depending on what the Breed Society lists online, you can start checking things like ownership, age of the animal, its pedigree, and DNA test results for each animal. So you can do a lot of finding that other information I mentioned earlier is available online, and you can start looking at that. And once you've got that, you can then go off and you start looking at the other important stuff that you can only see when you view that animal in person. Is it structurally sound and meets your visual standards. Now, obviously, with a few obvious exceptions, this protocol can also be used for animals that are not listed in sale catalogues. But by using with sale catalogues, you've obviously reduced the number of animals that you have to wade through to find those that you're interested in to begin with. Another search tool that is extremely valuable is the EBV graphs. So you can find these by clicking on this graph icon that appears on the EBV table, and it produces a graph like you can see here. So it can be really valuable, particularly for commercial bull buyers who maybe think about genetics and EBVs once a year at best. So they get this visual representation. They can see at a glance where an animal ranks in comparison to the rest of the breed. Personally, I find this graph to be extremely valuable, because if I'm looking at a Wagyu one day and then a couple of hours later I'm looking at a Brahman, obviously a +2 birth weight means completely different in those two breeds. But I can see by looking at these graphs straight away that where it ranks within each breed without having to know where a +2 should be within that breed. So I find it particularly valuable for when I'm skipping between breeds. There is also a version of this graph that incorporates EBV accuracy, and this can be obtained by clicking on the switch graph button that is at the bottom of the graph, of this graph. We also have the mating predictor tool, and this can be used by, so firstly, it's unfortunately not yet available for all breed societies in Southern Africa. We as in BREEDPLAN have asked for that to be made available, but it is unlikely to occur until we get BreedLogic online. Everyone's focusing their development skills on that. However, there are some societies with mating predictor available, and I encourage people to make use of it. So you can use it by just entering sire idents and dam idents and searching, or if you've logged into your own herd, you then have this ownership selection area where you can start pulling animals out, and it automatically populates the search functions for the females. And when you click search, you'll get something like this. So you'll get the sires EBVs, the dams EBVs, and then the apparent average. So that's going to be the starting value for any progeny of those two parents. And of course, they will deviate from that as they get their own performance data on file. The other thing that people really like getting out of this is you also get the inbreeding and depth of pedigree listed for that mating. So now in this case, I used an imported bull who happened to be completely unrelated to the dam, so the inbreeding coefficient was 0. But if I was using that within a herd where there's a higher chance of having related individuals, things will move quite quickly from an inbreeding coefficient of 0. So I seem to be getting through this pretty well. This is the last section of my talk, and this is talking about some things that are in development and coming soon for BREEDPLAN in Southern Africa. So Mario mentioned BreedLogic. It's a replacement for the LR2 databases that are used by the Breed Society staff, but it will have that enhanced user interfaces for breeders as well. It's costing multiple millions to develop, and constantly frightens me how much programming costs. But then I know from my own low-level experiences of trying to programming, it's not fun, so they probably deserve all the money they can get. The other thing that is coming soon, once BreedLogic is operational, is a product called BreedPlan Select. So it's a DNA-driven genetic evaluation for commercial cattle. It does not require any trait or pedigree data to be submitted. It's purely off the DNA, but it won't be suitable for seed stock. It won't be replacing BREEDPLAN in any form. And there's multiple reasons for that. It actually relies on our conventional BREEDPLAN analysis to operate. So it uses prediction equations derived from single-step BREEDPLAN that we can analyze that DNA against. So yeah, it also won't be as accurate as our full-blown BREEDPLAN either. So it's not suitable for seed stock, but it's certainly going to be suitable for commercial farmers who are buying bulls and then going, yeah, all right, I'm looking to buy some bulls, but I don't know actually how good is my cow herd? What are my weaknesses? What are my strengths within my cow herd? Because that'll influence their bull selections. This is where a product like BREEDPLAN Select can be very valuable. Mate Cell, it is another product that we have. It's mate selection software that takes into account inbreeding, genetic variation, and genetic merit when creating mating lists for breeders. We do have it available now. It's something that has to be run actually by myself in the office in Armidale. But we do have a new interactive version in development that again will be it will be an addition to BreedLogic when it's ready. And so this interactive version will allow breeders to select a group of bulls, a group of cows, and go, right, I want to figure out what the best matings is for these, and I can start putting some limitations on traits. I don't want birth weight to go over X kilo EBV, and I don't want a growth below Y kilo EBV, and the like are all going to be possibilities in this new interactive version. So it is quite exciting, and again, something I'm very excited about, not just because I will no longer have to do everyone's mate cell runs for them. We also, of course, continuously evolving and improving the BREEDPLAN analysis. The most obvious recent development that we've had is the inclusion of DNA information into the analysis. And Katrina, as Mario mentioned earlier, is going to be giving another one of these online short courses on the 17th, talking about what single-step BREEDPLAN can do for you. In addition, as I mentioned earlier, Dr. Brad Crook is who's our research and development manager, is going to be attending this year's Stockman School, and I'm not sure what topics he will be talking on, but Brad is a font of great knowledge, and I certainly encourage everyone to make use of his knowledge while he's in South Africa. Now, I seem to have gone through pretty quick, so you've got more time to quiz me on any questions that you may have, and thank you very much for your time today.
Boyd, thank you very, very much. I really appreciate this. I didn't mention at the beginning that we've had very good interactions with our British staff, including Boyd, and it's the first time I've met Boyd on an online discussion. We've had lots of email discussions backwards and forwards, and Boyd spent a lot of time helping the Brahmins have recently reviewed their selection indexes, and I'm very